My name is Dorothy Heideman Nelson. I'm telling this quilt story for the International Quilt Museum Memorial Quilt Story Share. The quilt that I want to share is about my maternal grandmother. And it's a two-part quilt because one of it is a two-dimensional quilt and one is three-dimensional. My grandmother was born in 1878. She walked home from school in the blizzard of 1888. She aspired to be an actress like her sister, but her parents felt she was a little bit too risque to do that, and instead she married my grandfather, who was a veterinarian, and he was 18 years older than she was. He was very much of an introvert, and she was a social butterfly. My mother was born in 1904. Her brother was born in 1909. In 1912, my grandparents divorced. And this was a real unusual situation for that time. It was with this typewriter, this very typewriter that you see here, that my grandmother supported herself and her two children with her bookkeeping skills and her typewriter. She loved to do dramatic readings. She loved to watch birds. She loved her children. And she died in Seward, Nebraska in 1958. Okay, I want to share just a little bit more about the quilt itself. The quilt is kind of divided in two parts. One is cool colors, one is warm colors. And the cool colors are where I put the typewriter keys and the story and some of the fabric that has bookkeeping ledger paper looking stuff. The warm side reflects more of the things that she loved, her children, the bird watching. The bird that I painted up here made me think particularly of her because she always kept a little bird book by her desk and her typewriter. The typewriter is very unique. It is not a standard keyboard, and it actually has a little, it folds down. It's a portable typewriter. So it goes like that. And in the typewriter panel, I put a little quilt that says the text that's in the quilt. And then I embellished the typewriter case with some birds that I painted. I put some things on the quilt that made me think of my grandmother. Of course, the keyboard is obvious. But there's a little pin here that says H and A, and that stood for History and Arts. That was the first start of the Women's Club in Seward, Nebraska. And of course, that's where my grandmother lived her entire life. And then this is a little Bakelite pin of hers. Most of the other things are just little remnants that I pick up that probably were from about that age. But this is the story that I like to think about with my grandmother.